Assalamualaikum and good evening to Doctor and my fellow friends. Today, our group 4, we present question number 5, which is comparison between CRT and SRT and 3 fundamental principles from crafting assessment tasks. Before that, I'm going to introduce our group members. Firstly, Muhammad Adhar Rizam bin Muhammad Ashri, next Syahidan bin Sariman, and me Najwa Asma binti Fabil, and lastly Yuzlina Zulaika binti Muhammad Yusuf. Next, the content for this presentation, which are to compare and contrast the constructed response test CRT and selected response test SRT, and to give examples to support our comparison. Secondly, to discuss 3 fundamental principles from crafting assessment tasks. Alright, so to have a better understanding about the comparison between SRT and CRT, firstly we need to know the meaning of SRT and CRT. So what is CRT? CRT, which is constructed response test, means a type of open-ended essay questions that demonstrate cognitive knowledge and reasoning. And SRT, which is selected response test is a test that requires examinees to choose a correct or best answer from a fixed listing of possible answers to a question or other stimuli. Alright, now I will explain the comparison between CRT and SRT. Firstly, CRT requires students to construct all kinds of responses. For example, the short answer test and essay test. The students need to have a critical thinking and reading between the lines or beyond the text, and the answer need to have evidence and inference. While SRT requires students to select their responses from alternative that the teacher has presented to them. For example, the multiple choice test, binary choice test, and the multiple choice item, which is MCQ, are the common example for the SRT form. Secondly, for the CRT, there are 2 types of constructed response item, which is firstly the short answer, and secondly the essay item. For the essay item, there are 2 types of essay item, which are extended response essay and restricted response essay. Extended response essay, which means it allows students to determine the length of complexity of response, while restricted response essay, the students need to express the essay within the number of words and the page and the lead time limits. While for the types of SRT, there are 4 different types of selected response test SRT, which are binary choice item, secondly multiple binary choice item, third multiple choice item, and lastly the matching items.
Okay, for the next, I will explain about advantages and disadvantages between CRT and SRT. Okay, we go first for the CRT. Advantages for the CRT is easier to score, and for the second one is can be answered quickly, and for the last one is cover a broader range of curriculum in a short time. Okay, disadvantage for the CRT, for number one is difficult to score, and for the last one is lead to reduced reliability. Okay, next, advantages and disadvantages for the SRT. Advantages, number one is allow students to demonstrate complex in the deep understanding. For the second one is less likelihood of guessing correct answer. And for the last one is motivate students to learn in a way that stresses the organization of information, principle, and application. And then for the disadvantages for the SRT, for the number one is student a 50-50 chance of guessing the correct answer even if they don't know the foggiest idea of what correct. Okay, for the last one is guess their way to correctly through a few binary choice item. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for the previous presenter. Now I will continue the presentation with three fundamental principles. The first one is focus on the important learning outcome. The second one, the task should craft relevant to the learning outcome to be assessed. And the third one, the task neither prevent or inhibit students' true ability to demonstrate their achievement of learning outcome. So let's see what is the three fundamental principles in more details. For the first third fundamental principle, we can see that focus on the important learning outcomes, which is first of all we have to know what is the learning outcome. Okay, learning outcomes are description of the specific knowledge, skills, or expertise that the learner will get from a learning activity such as a training session, seminar, courses, and programs. Learning outcomes are measurable achievement that the learner will be able to understand after the learning is complete, which help learners understand the importance of the information and what they will gain from their engagement with the learning activities. Creating clear, actionable learning outcome is an important part of the creating of training programs in organization. When developing this program, both management of the information and both management and instructor need to be clear about what learners should understand after completing their learning path. Learning outcome also play a key role in achievement and evaluation, making clear what knowledge learners should have upon completing of the learning activities. A well-written learning outcome will focus on how the learner will be able to apply the new knowledge in a real world context rather than a learner being able to recite information. So now we move to the second fundamental principle. The second one is the task shall craft relevant to the learning outcomes to be assessed. The teacher must need very clear idea of the learning outcome that he or she want to assess. Item must be built to test the knowledge, skill, and abilities based on learning outcomes. Avoid from unwanted behaviors from students. For example, the item must not make the student do bluffing, fear, guessing, or test-wise skills. Then, the last fundamental principle, which is the third one, is the task neither prevent or inhibit students' true ability to demonstrate their achievement of learning outcomes. First of all, imprecise wording in a word, which is may make an item so ambiguous that a student who has the knowledge answer it incorrectly. Inappropriate vocabulary, poorly worded directions, or poorly drawn diagrams may lead knowledgeable students answer incorrectly too. In educational practice, tests are methods used to determine the student's ability to complete certain tasks or demonstrate mastery of the all skill or knowledge of content. Tests can take the form of multiple choices or a weekly spelling. That's all from me. I pass to the next presenter.
Okay, I will continue about the guidelines. There are 4 points. First, determinant mental process. Second, clearly define and situate the task within a problem situation. Third, specify the point value and approximate time limit for each question. Fourth, use several relatively restricted response essay rather than one extended or response essay. Okay, firstly, determine mental process. Mental process uh, en- encompass all the things that the human mind can do naturally. Common mental process include memory, emotion, perception, imagination, thinking, and reasoning. Okay, this respond the desire to process in the minds of the student or related to learning outcome. Start the question with such word or phrases. Compare, give reason, predict what would happen, and other allow for original response. Second, clearly define and situate the task within a problem situation. An effective essay question produce valid evidence of the degree to which students have achieved the intended learning outcome. Educator must avoid including vocabulary that is too advanced for students. The following example demonstrates the importance of carefully choosing directive verb to align the essay question with the intended learning outcome. Okay, uh, third guideline is specify the point value in a approximate time limit for each question. By providing the marks for each essay question, students can estimate how much point that need to be right. Students do not have to give every point that they have to the essay question and also will not wasting their time. Um, Provide some raw estimate of how long the student should spend on each question without the approximate time limit for each essay question. Students may feel at a loss because they don't know how much time to spend on an essay. When deciding how much time should be spent on a question, keep the slower student and student with certain disabilities in mind. Okay, for the last guideline is use several relatively restricted response essay rather than one extended response essay. Only a very limited number of essay question can be included on a test because of the time requirement for students to respond to them. Create a challenge with regrets to design valid essay question. There is trade-off when choosing between several short essay question or one long one. Shorter response can be scored more quickly and more accurately than long extension response. That's all.